Imagine a lively parade filled with music, laughter, and celebration. Suddenly, chaos erupts as a float breaks loose, careening down the crowded street. Amid the panic, a young black boy witnesses the unfolding danger and makes a choice that will change his life forever. What happens next leaves the entire city talking for weeks. Stay tuned to find out how this brave act changes both their lives forever. Location: Central City, Saturday, 3:15 p.m. The city's annual parade is in full swing when, without warning, one of the brightly decorated floats breaks free, rolling downhill at an alarming speed. Spectators gasp, unsure of what to do. Why is no one stopping it? And who's on board? The city center is alive with music, banners waving, and confetti swirling through the crisp afternoon air. Families line the sidewalks, cheering as floats pass by, each more colorful than the last. Among the crowd is 12-year-old Jamal, a quick-thinking, athletic kid known for his love of helping out at community events. His mother, Regina, calls out to him as he runs ahead to see the parade. Jamal's enthusiasm is contagious, and a few younger kids follow his lead, trying to catch stray pieces of confetti drifting through the air. Jamal spots his favorite float, a giant, glittering dragon that seems to move with every gust of wind. He waves excitedly, shouting to his mother, "Mom, look at that one!" Regina, keeping a watchful eye on him, can't help but smile at his excitement. The whole street seems to vibrate with energy as marching bands play upbeat tunes and performers dance in elaborate costumes. Alice, a pregnant woman in her late 20s, watches from a nearby float, enjoying the festivities with a relaxed smile. She adjusts her position, trying to ease the pressure on her back. The float she is on is themed after a local charity, with volunteers waving and tossing candy to the children lining the streets. Alice feels a sense of pride being part of something that brings so much joy to the community. The crowd's cheers grow louder as the next float approaches. Jamal notices something odd, a slight wobble in the float's movement. At first, he thinks it's just the bumpy street, but as it gets closer, he sees the driver struggling to keep it straight. Jamal's instincts kick in, and he stops bouncing on his toes, his eyes narrowing as he focuses on the float's path. Regina notices his sudden stillness. "What's wrong, Jamal?" she asks, moving closer to him. "I don't know, Mom. That float, it doesn't look right," he replies, pointing cautiously. Regina follows his gaze, noticing the float swerving slightly to the left, as if the steering isn't working properly. Alice, still on the float, feels the shift too. She looks back at the driver, her smile fading as concern settles in. The driver glances at her, mouthing something that she can't quite hear over the noise. She grips the side rail, her knuckles turning white. The surrounding crowd doesn't seem to notice the change, too caught up in the music and the spectacle. Jamal nudges his mom again. "Mom, it's getting closer. Should we move back?" Regina hesitates, not wanting to worry him, but the urgency in his voice makes her glance around for an officer or parade organizer. The float inches nearer, the gap between it and the curb growing dangerously narrow. Jamal's heart pounds, and his mind races through possibilities. He thinks about how the parade volunteers had talked about safety measures earlier. Did something go wrong with the brakes? He doesn't know for sure, but his instincts tell him that staying put is not safe. Where are you watching from, and what time is it? Jamal lives with his mother in a modest apartment. Regina works 2 jobs to make ends meet, teaching Jamal the value of kindness and community. Despite the challenges they face, Regina always makes time to share a meal with Jamal, listening to his stories from school or his dreams of helping out at bigger community events one day. When Regina has a rare day off, they sometimes visit the local park, where Jamal practices his favorite sport, basketball. Although he isn't the tallest player on the court, his quick reflexes and determination often surprise those who underestimate him. Regina always reminds him, "It's not about how big you are. It's about how much heart you put into it." Alice recently moved to the city for a fresh start, hoping to raise her child in a welcoming environment. Leaving behind her close-knit family was hard, but she knew that this move was necessary for a better future. Sometimes, in the quiet of her small apartment, she imagines what life will be like once the baby arrives. She hopes to build a support network, but making connections has been more difficult than she expected. Alice spends her days trying to settle into the new community, exploring local shops and occasionally volunteering at the community center to meet people. One of her favorite places is the small bakery down the street, where the owner, an elderly woman named Maria, always greets her warmly. Still, the sense of isolation lingers, especially in the evenings when the city's bustle fades. Jamal and Alice had never met before that fateful parade, but their paths would soon intertwine in the most unexpected way. On that day, both were looking forward to something special. Jamal hoping to catch a glimpse of the new sports team float, and Alice just wanting to feel part of something bigger. Neither knew that within moments, their lives would intersect in a way that would change them both. At school, Jamal is often overlooked despite his helpful nature. Teachers appreciate his willingness to assist with classroom tasks, but his classmates rarely see past his quiet demeanor. On the playground, he sometimes watches the more confident kids take center stage, but he doesn't mind too much. Regina always tells him, "You don't need everyone's attention to make a difference. Just keep being you." Alice, new to the neighborhood, struggles to find a sense of belonging. She's met a few neighbors, but mostly exchanges polite smiles rather than forming real connections. As the days go by, she wonders if she will ever feel at home in this unfamiliar city. Sometimes, she watches the families gathering at the park and feels a pang of loneliness, wishing her own family weren't so far away. Through it all, Regina's words echo in Jamal's mind. When people need help, you don't think, you just do. He holds on to that advice, not fully realizing how soon he will put it to the test. Have you ever done something brave without thinking twice? As the float gains speed, Alice grips the pole tightly, her face a mixture of surprise and fear. "Oh my God! Somebody stop this!" she shouts, trying to balance herself. The festive cheers around her slowly turn into gasps as people begin to notice the float veering off course. Panic flickers through the crowd, but most are too stunned to react. Without hesitation, Jamal races after the float, managing to leap onto the back platform just in time. His heart pounds, but his focus sharpens as he assesses the situation. He scrambles to the front, grabbing the steering lever and jamming his foot against a metal bar to slow the descent. The float groans under the pressure, but Jamal pushes with all his might, determined not to let it crash. Alice, clutching the side rail, watches with wide eyes, unsure whether to shout for help or hold on tighter. The float grinds to a halt just before hitting a lamppost. Alice looks at Jamal, breathless but grateful. "You saved us," she whispers, the weight of what almost happened sinking in. Jamal doesn't respond right away, too busy catching his breath. His legs feel shaky from the adrenaline, but relief washes over him as he sees that no one is hurt. Slowly, the crowd begins to cheer, realizing that the danger has passed. A few people even clap Jamal on the back, congratulating him for his quick thinking. Alice finally steps down from the float, still shaken but smiling at Jamal. "Thank you," she says again, her voice steadier this time. Jamal gives a small nod, still processing everything that just happened. Regina rushes over, pulling Jamal into a tight hug, her voice choked with emotion. "You scared me half to death, but I'm so proud of you." Despite the relief, not everyone sees the incident the same way. The next morning, instead of being hailed as a hero, Jamal faces backlash from some community members. A few people gossip at the local store, questioning why Jamal was near the float in the first place. "Maybe he was messing around and caused it," one man mutters, not bothering to lower his voice. Social media posts surface, with some praising his courage and others accusing him of trying to disrupt the parade. The conflicting opinions spread quickly, and Jamal finds himself caught in the middle. Regina tries to shield him from the negativity, but she knows it's impossible to avoid it entirely. One afternoon, as Jamal walks to the park, he overhears two teenagers arguing about him. One defends his actions, while the other claims he was just looking for attention. Jamal quickens his pace, feeling his cheeks burn with frustration. Why couldn't people see that he was just trying to help? At home, Regina sits beside him, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Sometimes people judge without knowing the truth," she says softly. "You did the right thing, and those who matter know that. Don't let the others get to you." Jamal nods, trying to take comfort in her words. Deep down, he knows she's right, but the doubt still lingers. He can't help but wonder if things will ever go back to normal. What would you do if your good deed was questioned? During the award ceremony, the mayor recounts the incident, praising Jamal's quick thinking. The hall is packed with community members, reporters, and local officials. Jamal stands at the edge of the stage, feeling both nervous and proud. When the mayor calls his name, he shyly steps forward, his hands trembling. The mayor gestures for quiet as the applause swells. "This young man acted with remarkable courage," he says, his voice firm and sincere. In a moment when most would have frozen, Jamal didn't hesitate to take action. Because of him, a potentially tragic accident was averted. Jamal shifts his weight from one foot to the other, his heart pounding. He's not used to this kind of attention. As the crowd continues to clap, he spots Regina in the front row, wiping away a tear of pride. Seeing his mom's support calms his nerves a bit, and he manages a small smile. Unexpectedly, a local businessman, Mr. Cartwright, steps forward and takes the microphone. "Jamal," he begins, looking directly at him, "your bravery deserves more than just applause. To support your future and recognize your selflessness, I'm offering a scholarship fund for your education and a year of free groceries for your family." A murmur of surprise runs through the crowd before erupting into loud cheers. Jamal's eyes widen, and he looks to his mom, who nods encouragingly. He can hardly believe what he's hearing. Regina clasps her hands together, overcome with gratitude. It's more than she ever expected. After the ceremony, Alice finds Jamal in the crowd, pulling him into a tight hug. Her eyes well up with tears. "You didn't just save me, you saved my baby too," she says with emotion. Jamal feels a warmth spread through him, realizing that his actions truly made a difference. Despite the overwhelming support, not everyone is convinced. Some members of the crowd remain divided, with a few murmuring about causing trouble and questioning Jamal's motives. One man whispers to his friend, he probably just wanted attention. Kids these days always trying to make a scene. Regina overhears and steps forward, her voice strong and unwavering. "My boy did what needed to be done. without a thought of recognition or reward. When he saw danger, he didn't hesitate to help. If that's not what a hero does, then I don't know what is. The murmurs quiet down, and more people begin to applaud again, appreciating Regina's words. Jamal feels a surge of pride, not just for himself but for his mom, who has always taught him to do the right thing regardless of what others might think. After the ceremony, a few of the skeptical voices soften. One elderly woman approaches Regina and Jamal. "I was wrong to doubt you, son," she says, patting Jamal's shoulder. "What you did was brave. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Regina smiles, grateful that some people are willing to change their minds when they see the truth. As they walk home, Jamal feels a bit lighter, knowing that despite the lingering doubts, many more people now see him for who he really is. Have you ever faced criticism when you did the right thing? Weeks later, Jamal and Alice have formed a friendship. Alice often visits, sharing baby updates while Regina makes tea. Their small apartment, once just a quiet space for Regina and Jamal, now feels livelier with Alice's cheerful presence. Buddy, Alice's energetic dog, often accompanies her, making himself at home under the kitchen table. One afternoon, as Alice shares stories of feeling the baby kick, Jamal listens intently, his eyes widening with curiosity. Regina chuckles at his reactions, enjoying how the bond between the three of them has grown. Alice admits that before the parade she often felt out of place in the city. But now, she says with a smile, it's starting to feel more like home. The mayor's recognition sparks a series of community initiatives emphasizing youth involvement. Inspired by Jamal's actions, the local youth center hosts a series of workshops on courage and quick thinking. Jamal is invited to speak at schools, sharing his experience and encouraging other young people to act with bravery when faced with unexpected situations. At first, Jamal is nervous about speaking in front of large groups, but Regina helps him practice his speech at home, reminding him to speak from the heart. The first time Jamal addresses a school assembly, his hands shake slightly, but as he looks at the eager faces waiting to hear his story, he takes a deep breath and begins. He talks about how helping Alice wasn't something he thought about. It was just something he had to do. The students listen intently, and when he finishes, they give him a standing ovation. Teachers approach afterward, praising him for his honesty and courage. Jamal's story circulates through local news and social media, with many praising his sense of responsibility. Regina, proud but humble, watches as her son becomes a local hero, despite the mixed reactions that still linger from some. Not everyone changes their mind right away, but more and more people begin to understand that Jamal's intentions were pure. One evening, after another successful speaking event, Jamal returns home to find Regina cooking his favorite meal, spaghetti and garlic bread. As they sit down to eat, she smiles and says, "You know, not everyone gets the chance to make such a difference at your age. I'm proud of how you've handled it all." Jamal shrugs modestly. "I just did what you always taught me. Help when you can." Regina squeezes his hand, grateful that her lessons have shaped him into someone who acts with kindness and courage. Later, when Alice stops by with fresh muffins from the bakery, she shares that she's been volunteering at the youth center, inspired by Jamal's impact. "You made me realize that helping others doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's just about showing up," she tells him. Jamal smiles, realizing that his actions have started a ripple effect. He knows that not everyone will understand, but as long as he stays true to himself and does the right thing, he can make a positive impact on those around him. What quality do you think is most important when helping others? Jamal helps Alice set up a nursery, painting walls with bright, hopeful colors. They decide on a sunny yellow and soft blue combination, wanting the space to feel warm and welcoming. As Jamal carefully brushes paint along the edges, he glances over at Alice, who is carefully folding tiny baby clothes and stacking them neatly on a nearby chair. "You're going to be a great mom," Jamal tells her, stepping back to admire the wall he just finished. Alice smiles, wiping her hands on a rag. "Thanks, Jamal. I didn't think I'd be doing this on my own, but having you and your mom around makes it a lot easier." They work in comfortable silence for a while, the soft hum of the radio filling the room. Regina stops by with sandwiches and lemonade, commenting on how cheerful the room looks. Jamal beams with pride, glad to have been part of the transformation. After a while, Alice places a small, framed picture of the float rescue on a shelf. The image shows Jamal clinging to the back of the float, determination in his eyes, as Alice looks on from the edge, stunned but safe. "I want my child to grow up knowing kindness changes lives," she says softly, adjusting the frame so it catches the light just right. Jamal nods, feeling a sense of belonging he's never known before. It's not just about the room or the paint, it's about being part of something meaningful, knowing that his actions brought people together. As they take a break, Alice shares more of her hopes for the future. "I want to raise my baby in a place where people look out for each other," she says. "What you did that day showed me that this community can be that place." Jamal reflects on her words, realizing that despite the initial backlash, most people now see him differently. The stories about his bravery spread, and while some still question his motives, he knows that those who matter understand the truth. As the afternoon light filters through the nursery window, Jamal helps Alice arrange some donated baby toys. One of them, a soft teddy bear, catches his eye. Alice notices and hands it to him. "You picked that one out at the donation drive, didn't you?" she asks. Jamal nods, remembering how he thought the bear's friendly face would be perfect for the baby. Regina walks in, holding a small quilt she made patterned with bright stars. "A little something for the new edition," she says with a gentle smile. Alice's eyes well up, touched by the gesture. "Thank you both for everything," she says. They share a quiet moment, each feeling the strength of the connections they've built. Later, as they sit down to rest, Alice talks about how lonely she felt before the parade. "Sometimes I thought I'd never feel at home here, but then you two showed me that good people are still around." Jamal doesn't say much, just nods, but his heart swells with pride. He knows that his one act of courage made a difference not just in Alice's life, but in how he views himself. As they share stories and laughter, the room seems brighter, not just from the paint, but from the sense of family they've created together. Have you ever experienced a moment of unexpected friendship? Jamal's act of courage ripples through the community, reminding everyone of the power of kindness, regardless of age or background. The story of how he stopped the runaway float continues to be shared, not just in the neighborhood, but throughout the city. Local news outlets cover follow-up stories, highlighting how one brave action can make a lasting impact. Regina often hears from parents at the grocery store or on her way to work, telling her how proud she must be of her son. Each time, she smiles and nods, grateful that Jamal's good heart is being recognized. However, she also knows that not everyone fully understands what it took for him to act that day. Alice, too, notices the change. When she goes to the bakery, the owner, Maria, often asks about Jamal, praising him for being such a thoughtful young man. Alice can't help but feel grateful that the community's perspective is shifting, bit by bit. She keeps the framed picture of the float rescue in the nursery, a reminder of how kindness can change lives. As life goes on, the bond between Jamal and Alice continues to grow, a story of two lives changed by a single brave act. Jamal stops by Alice's apartment regularly, helping with little tasks as the baby's due date approaches. Sometimes they just sit and chat, sharing stories about their days. Alice often brings up how much safer she feels knowing that people like Jamal and Regina are nearby. One day, while helping set up a baby mobile, Jamal asks, "Do you think your baby will remember any of this?" Alice chuckles, shaking her head. "Probably not, but I'll make sure they know how brave you were. I want my child to grow up knowing that good people are out there." Jamal smiles, a bit embarrassed but happy. "I just did what needed to be done," he says quietly. Regina, overhearing from the doorway, chimes in, "And that's exactly what makes you special, Jamal. You didn't do it for praise. You did it because it was right." Alice nods in agreement, her hand resting on her stomach. Kindness doesn't always get noticed, but it changes things. You've shown this whole community that. As the weeks pass, Jamal continues to receive invitations to community events and school assemblies, where he shares his story with other young people. Each time he feels a little more confident, focusing not on being a hero but on encouraging others to act when it matters. One evening, as they sit on the porch, Regina asks Jamal how he feels about everything that's happened. He thinks for a moment before answering. "It's weird being called a hero. I just did what you always taught me. Help when you can. I didn't expect all this." Regina squeezes his shoulder. "That's why it means so much. You didn't think about being a hero. You just acted. That's something people will remember." Jamal looks forward to meeting Alice's baby, knowing he'll be there as a friend and protector. The journey from that chaotic parade day to this peaceful moment on the porch has taught him a lot about courage, community, and staying true to oneself. What did you think of this incredible story of courage and community? Share your thoughts below. If you liked this story, share with your friends and family. And if you want more stories like this, subscribe to our channel. See you next time.